welcome along to the Bunch of Puts Betting Podcast, your specialist show for football long shot bets. Now it's Tuesday afternoon as we're recording, and we just thought it'd be stupid to let the National League playoff first leg week go by without tipping some bets. So Matthew's been hard at work. He's got selections at 8s, maybe 15s, but definitely 29s as well. Working our way down from the north and south to the regional divisions below. So kicking off in the south, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so it was obviously much was made of the title race in the south. Six teams could have won it on the final day. Truro sort of spoiled the fun a bit, going 3-0 up in 10 minutes, so a bit less dramatic. But then they had a slight wobble. Torquay came back into it, so there was a bit of drama, but Truro ran away with it. So that means five teams sort of. Five teams missed out on the last day. Maidstone were the only team guaranteed in the playoffs in the final day. So that sort of psychologically that could help Maidstone a lot. But I'm not going with Maidstone. And looking at the market, you've got Eastbourne Borough 2.87 and Torquay at threes, who are the two favourites due to having home advantage and one less game to play. But at some of the bigger prices, I'm going to have a play at. So I'm going to split a point altogether, so half a point and half a point. So the first half a point is going on Dorking at 15s, which they're the rank outsiders, which I don't understand. They finished sixth in the league, but are priced as the biggest underdogs. They face Boreham Wood in the quarterfinals, in the first quarterfinal, which is tonight of recording. Boreham Wood are similar to Notts County for me, like just a team that the bookies always seem to love and price really high. I've watched Boreham Wood a couple of times this season. I really don't rate them, and I'm much more impressed with Dorking. And I think Dorking are priced as high because unless they face Maidstone in the final, they have to play every game away. But I think that suits Dorking. What do you call it? It'll be an away game against Worthing or Eastbourne or home against Maidstone in the final if they beat Torquay. They've only lost one of their last 19 league games and boast the best away record in the league. They haven't lost away from home since early November, and sorry, and then oh yeah, they've also got playoff experience, previous experience. And I just think yes, 15s is far too big considering they're up against Boreham Wood, who I'm not a big fan of, and I wouldn't surprise me to see them beat Torquay. So that's the first bet at 15s, and I've split the other half a stake on Worthing at 8s. Probably a bit of bias because I watched them and go to the game tomorrow, but they look well versed to win the league after two previously unsuccessful campaigns in the playoffs. They went into the Easter weekend top, but they drew with Eastbourne and Dorking and then beat Enfield last game of the season, but just missed out. They're clinical in front of goal. They've got an attacker really like Fowl, and Babiola is a great front two. Main issue is Cashman's injured, and whilst he is the best player, I think ironically having not having him in the playoffs sort of suits them a bit because they can bulk up the midfield a bit, bring a die in. I think that really helped them. They've got a home game against Maidstone, which I think they should win, and then away Eastbourne. Eastbourne are unbeaten at home, but it's a local derby. Worthing will have a lot of fans there. It wouldn't surprise me to see them draw and take it to extra time, where I think Worthing will have the better of them. And then it's a potential home game against Dorking or Boreham Wood or an away at Torquay. And I just think at 8s, and the 8s you're getting for Worthing and 15s you're getting for Dorking, it's well worth taking on Torquay and Eastbourne, who are only that price because they got one less game. So yeah, splitting between a point, half a point on Dorking at 15s, half a point on Worthing at 8s in the National South. Um, and yeah, North, you got
No,
Kidderminster.
let me guess,
What?
because I've seen the prices in the north, and I don't think you can resist that Buxton one.
Yeah, that's exactly who I'm on, Buxton. Yeah, I'm having a point on Buxton, so at 29s. Um, yeah, so you got Kidderminster, who are the favourites at 2.25, and Scunny at 2.62, and then Chester, the best of the rest, at 8.5. But I was speaking to a Chester fan about it yesterday. He's not keen on Chester because when they're in a big crowd, they seem to bottle it. But I'll talk about the favourites first. Kidderminster were top going into last day and just needed to beat Southport basically to win it, and they suffered a shock defeat. And I think Phil Brown lost his head a bit, as Phil Brown does, and I think the moral round Kidderminster's there. Like they weren't expecting a playoff campaign, and the moral round Kidderminster's not going to be good. And I think especially if Buxton beat Chester in the quarters, Buxton can turn up at Kidderminster with all the momentum. They've snuck in on the last day, then they potentially go and beat the fourth best team in the league away. They're going to be full of momentum, nothing to lose. And Buxton, I just like them. They're the only team to. They've already beaten Chester away in the league. They drew at Kidderminster, and they're the only team to win at Scunthorpe this season. So they're a team I like. It's McGrath is a manager I loved when he was at Mikulova. They've got a really good team. They're the underdogs in all three games basically, but that suits them. That they're not very good at playing against the low block sides. They're good at when the team comes at them, they can beat the press. I just really like them, and the issue would be Scunthorpe at home. Scunthorpe are a joke at home, and by far and away the best side in the league on their day. But Scunthorpe obviously didn't win the league for a reason. They have it in them to have bozo moments, and I think them and Kidderminster are far too short, especially considering Kidderminster's. Would you call it? Yeah, they'll just be deflated. I think imagine you're Buxton, you're underdogs against Chester. You turn up in front of 4,000 people, spoil their day, and then you're at Kidderminster. Kidderminster don't want to be playing. Buxton will turn up with all the momentum, beat them, I think, and then you're getting a massive prize against Scunny in the final. But if anyone can do it, I think Buxton. So 29 for me. I think in the context of it, it's far too big. So I'm happy to have a point on Buxton at 29s.
Lovely. So South, we have got Dorking to win the playoffs at 14-1, Worthing to win at 7-1, half a point on each, and then Buxton in the north at 28-1 and a point on that.
Yeah.
Are we into the regionals now?
Yeah.
Isthmian.
So this is the Isthmians. I've got right up and reasoning for this, but it's a no bet for me. For me, I can't split it. We were heartbroken by Dartford. We were on them at the pod, and they let us down. And it was a very dramatic final day as well. Billericay were top and ended up winning 4-2 on the final day, but still ended up not winning the league because Horsham absolutely battered hashtag. So Billericay will be deflated. They're still a good team. Dover, who played Chichester in a basically shootout to get there. Dover beat Chichester to get there. So the only team guaranteed in were Cray Valley Paper Mills. So you could be backing them, but again, if Cray Valley were a bit higher, I'd be backing them, but they're too short for me. If I had to choose anyone, it would be Dartford, purely because they sort of went in the final day, even though they're level on points, they're so far behind on goal difference. The two ahead of them had an easy home fixture, so they sort of were braced for a playoffs. They host the Cray Valley Paper Mill side looking for another promotion. Paper Valley Mills came into the final day winning 7 from 8 before rotating against Folkestone and losing. The sides have met twice this season, with Dartford taking 4 points this season, and home advantage. I think Dartford should get over the line. This will set up an away tie at Billericay at home to Dover. Dover was storming the league at one point, but then bottled it and nearly missed out on the playoffs altogether. I think with the momentum of beating Chichester, they've got 3 of the best attackers in the league. I think they can turn Billericay over and shock them. So I think it'll be a Dartford-Dover final, local rivalry, Dartford at home. And I just think I'm siding with Dartford to be promoted at 3s, but it's a no bet for me because you can make a case for any of the 4 teams. So that league's an avoid, but if you were to have anyone, it would be Dartford. And then I've got a little double from the Southern South and the Northern Prem at 3.5 it is. I've gone boring, but I've gone with the 2 short favourites. For the Northern Prem, Worksop were evens, but I've shortened a bit and can't justify them at 1.66 in a single, but as a double, I think it's a no-brainer. So that league, Macclesfield, absolutely pissed it with 109 points. Worksop finished second, and they host an Ashton side they finished 14 points ahead of in the league. Ashton only won 3 of their final 12 games of the season. That came against 20th place Mikulova, 21st place Basford. This is a 22-team league, by the way, and a Hebburn team who ended the season awfully. They've only won 3 away games in 2025, Ashton, and that came against the current bottom 3 who are all cut adrift. So, Worksop should have no problem getting past them. I think Stockton beat Guiseley, who were in awful form in the other semi, and I think Worksop at home against Stockton will just have far too much. I think they're by far the best team in the playoffs. So, them to win it at 1.6. I'm doubling with the favourites of the South, AFC Totton. They were a side I was hot on pre-season to win the league, but they got pipped by Murph. It was a massive shock to many that the Stags didn't win it. Bookie's favourite for the title. they're stacked with non-league talent. If you're an avid watcher of non-league, just scroll down their team, you'll see players you recognise, as well as Charlie Austin. They unbeaten at home all season, only didn't win 6 games. They're playing against a strong Dorchester side who ended the season well, but again should have too much. I think Walton and Hersham sweep Gloucester aside because I really like Walton and Hersham, but I just think Totton should have too much for Walton and Hersham in the final. So Totton and Worksop to be promoted at 3.5 is the other bet, a point on that. And then Central, it's another no bet because it's the one you can make a case for 4 teams. I've sided with Harborough at 4.5, the outsiders of the lot, but because for step 3 there's only semi-final and final, there's no team has the advantage of only playing one less game, so the odds are a lot tighter, so it's harder to find really good value, and they're finding it really hard to split this league. And again, so am I. Kettering would have been my pick. Form is too inconsistent since their cup exploit, so I'm siding with Harborough, who me and Scott have been really keen on for a few weeks now. They were loitering towards the bottom half of the table. They flew up the league after their cup, and they reached the playoffs on the final day. They're really well back financially, and they'll fancy their chance of causing an upset at Kettering. Only conceded 42 goals in the league, which is the second best in the league and the best in the playoff. And I think in the playoffs, it's a very key statistic. I think I'd rather have a good defence than a good attack in the playoffs. Very, very low margin. I think Harborough have that. They have the ability to counter-attack, and they've also lost just twice since Boxing Day, and they haven't lost away since 14th of December. They've already taken 4 points off Kettering this season, so they know they can beat them. And then their potential final against Telford or Hallowswen, again, you can make a case for either of them teams. But I just think Harbour's momentum, they're really good away from home. They suit sitting back, countering, and I think them having 2 away games suits them. So I'm having them at 4.5, but I'm not putting it forward as an official bet.
Lovely stuff. So, you've literally just ran through all of this week's non-league playoffs. What, like 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Can you just recap your official bets?
Yeah, so the official bets are half a point on Worthing at 8s in the National South and half a point on Dorking at 15s, same league. And then National North, I've gone a point on Buxton at 29s, I think they are. Mm-hmm. And that's National North. And then I've had a point on Worksop in the Northern Prem and Totton in the Southern South in a double at 3.5. And me and Scott were in collaboration on Twitter. We had the exact same 5 picks for promotion for the 5 leagues we like. So we've had that 5-fold on Twitter, which you can check out. But so players should be fun. It's a lottery. It could be over a few hours after this uploaded. This could all be dead in the water with games tonight, but it's always worth having sort of an outside poke on the playoffs.
100%. And that 5-fold is, I had it as soon as I saw it. Worthing, Worksop, Harbour Town, Dartford, Totton, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although you're just saying that Worksop price has been smashed in. 46 now.
Me and Scott were saying it was stupid because they're like 1.2 to progress against Ashton or something. So them to be 2s, evens, that made no sense. So I think they finally adjusted it. But Worksop should have no issue. They were mine and Scott's favourite bet of the playoffs, I think.
Right, I'm just checking before we go the 5-fold that you just said. See what it is now.
It was about 400 when I had it, but it'll be a bit shorter now, I think.
Only a bit. It's still 378 to 1, those 5 teams.
We did say it may be worth splitting your stake, having that 5-fold and then replacing Worthing with Dorking in the other one. So sort of splitting.
Do you know what I did? When I saw you tweet that, I did the free shortest price. Muggy punting because I know nothing about it. Not like you and Scott do, but I just did Worksop. I know a bit about Worksop. Dartford and Totton is a free. That's over 12 to 1. And then I did a small stake on the 5 that you put forward, but still 377 to 1.
Playoffs is a lottery, and like I said, because so many variables need to go your way, but you can get some big odds prize, so that's why I'm happy to take Buxton especially.
Yeah, great pick, and thank you for that. That is the non-league playoffs, not National League, but the 6 divisions below, all summed up for you there. We'll be back Thursday, maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday for the usual show. Last game week in the EFL, so plenty to look forward to. We'll catch you on the flippity flip.